Hey y'all, I'm Anna the Artiste. Today I'm telling y'all how I made my splatter dress for the Iron Lung cast and crew screening. For those who don't know, my name's Anna Fugate Downs. I've gotten to work with Markiplier as his makeup designer on Iron Lung and In Space with Markiplier and even Heist with Markiplier. Now to the tutorial. I will start this with a disclaimer. I actually made this dress a few years ago, back when we did the cast and crew screening. So a lot of this stuff I don't have prices for, just because they probably wouldn't be the same today anyway. Also, I did order things from Amazon, which I don't always do, and I try to avoid it as much as I can, but there are times that I need things on a tighter turnaround, and so for me, it's a necessary evil sometimes. I got a lot of my materials at my craft store, which I prefer Michael's in my area. So with that, let's get started. My plans to make this dress started as soon as I saw Robert Woon's Bleeding Love collection in spring/summer 24. It started with an Amazon order and receiving a dress that I was extremely unsure whether or not it would fit. In fact, you can see me here having that exact moment where I realized that the zipper was actually going to move and that it looked good without shapewear. I mean, come on. For additional materials, I used the Liquitex Fabric Paint Mixing Medium, the E6000 Fabrifuse Stretchable Gem Glue, these wax-tipped gem applicator sticks, and then a whole lot of red rhinestones in different sizes. Liquitex didn't have the perfect shade of red. I mixed cadmium red and alizarin crimson for my base color, and then burnt umber by itself for shading. Next, I created a cardboard form for the dress to stretch onto while I made it. I made this by lying down on a big sheet of cardboard and having my husband trace around my body. I was glad to have these massive utility shears on hand, otherwise cutting through all that cardboard would have really sucked. I tried putting the dress on the form, but I'd added a little too much stretch allowance outside of my trace lines, so I had to go back and trim that off, but then it fit completely perfectly. And here she is on the form, all hung up and ready to get painted. Now, before I go onto the garment, I was always going to do a lot of tests first. I really needed to figure out how I wanted to capture the movement of the fake blood, and something that is really difficult about fake blood is that it is liquid. It's really hard to predict how it's going to move or where it's going to land. As you can see, I sort of gave up on flinging it and started using things like a ketchup bottle to apply. And that's when I really started to feel some of that energy. Just by examining different kinds of splatter patterns, I think I was able to capture the sort of energy that I wanted without actually having to throw the blood. By the time I started painting on the actual garment, I had 3 days before the Iron Lung cast and crew screening. I've got my test paints hung up where I could easily reference them as I'm painting on the actual dress. Now, for this paint mixture, what I'm using is equal parts of my red mix with the Liquitex Fabric Paint Mixing Medium. That keeps the paint really flexible as it dries and keeps it from getting really crispy on the fabric. And here is what the paint job looked like on the back when it was all done. Then I moved on to the front of the dress, which was largely just repeating what I did on the back. For this paint job, after laying down my initial base color of the red, I went back in with the burnt umber on a mostly dry brush and just blended it into the middle of my base color to really give the paint job some depth. As you can see, that mixing medium makes it blend really nicely, so I just went in and kind of zhuzhed it around until I was happy with how it looked. And here is the finished paint job on the front. I am so in love with the physics and the gravity of this dress, especially towards the bottom, those little drips. And as soon as that paint was dry, of course I had to try it on before starting on the rhinestones. I just wanted to see the placement and if there were any gaps. And then it was time for a stone-a-thon. I used the E6000 Fabrifuse Stretchable Gem Glue, which got recommended to me by a drag queen who makes her own costumes and absolutely knows her stuff. That is one of the reasons why it was so important to have the fabric stretched out as I was applying this glue and the paint. The glue is really flexible and strong, but it's most reliable if it's applied while the fabric is actually stretched out, just so that when you do go to put it on after it's dried, it's not putting unnecessary tension on the glue. Obviously, rhinestoning a garment is a tedious but extremely satisfying process. It did take hours and hours, and I did actually have my husband step in and help me with it too. He was really good at it. A little hack that you can just barely see here is that I'm using wax paper if I feel like I have to put my hand down where glue has recently been applied, just to make sure that nothing is sticking onto my hand as I am working. As promised, here is my husband putting in his hours on stoning this dress. Ugh, and what a payoff. I love it so much. I was so obsessed every single step of putting this together. For makeup, I used a cream lip stain or lip paint to draw on my splatter marks and just kind of continue them from where they are on the dress. And here is the finished look as I wore it on the cast and crew screening night in May of 2024. And that is how I made my dress for the Iron Lung cast and crew screening. Please make sure to subscribe to follow along for more. Also, you can find me on TikTok or Instagram at Anna the Artiste. I'll be making more videos about Iron Lung BTS and different processes for my job as a makeup designer. And please leave a comment below if you have any questions or requests for future videos. Thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.